In this video, we're going to start working backwards from differentiation rules to obtain antiderivatives so that we can formalize our work a bit and not have to kind of do some guesswork every time that we're taking an antiderivative. So just wanted to recall that the indefinite integral means that we're looking for a family of functions whose derivative is the function in the integrand. So e to the x is the easiest one to start with because we know that the derivative of e to the x is itself. So that has to be the case also for the antiderivative. So we can, if we take the derivative of this function, we should get this function. And the derivative of the x is e to the x. The derivative of c, or any arbitrary constant, will be 0, so we're good to go. Now, what happens if we have e raised to some constant k times x? So here k is a scalar or a constant. And now we have to think about, okay, if we're trying to look for a family of functions whose derivative is e to the kx, well, we know that probably we have to have e to the kx as part of our solution because e to the x, e to the u is its own derivative. So this is a good starting point. But then we have to remember that when we take a derivative, so if I take the derivative of this side of e to the kx, the derivative of e to the kx with respect to x is going to be e to the kx, and using the chain rule, we have to multiply by the derivative of the inside, and the derivative of kx will be k. So we have a little bit of an issue because I want a function whose derivative is just e to the kx, not the k in front. So we should undo that in advance, right? So that means that here, if we divide this then by k, we will undo the multiplication that we get when we differentiate. Let's check, because that may have been confusing how I said that. So we're hoping now that when we take the derivative of e to the kx divided by k, we should just get e to the kx, what's in the integrand. All right, so we have a 1 over k, that's our constant. We'll leave that there by the constant multiple rule. And we know the derivative of e to the kx will be itself times the derivative of the inside, which is k, which is great now because now our k's cancel and we get what we wanted, e to the kx. So now we know that was a long way, right, to go, but that the integral of e to the kx dx will be e to the kx, but we have to divide by k so that when we differentiate and multiply by k, those k's will cancel. And of course, we'll add our arbitrary constant c because we're looking for a family of functions whose derivative is e to the kx. Okay, so let's continue our work using the same kind of reasoning. So now let's suppose that we have the cosine of kx as the derivative function, the rate of change function. So we want to undo the derivative. So we want to find a function whose derivative is cosine of kx. Well, we know that sine, the derivative of sine is cosine. So I'm going to start with sine of kx. But I can't stop there because I know that if I take the derivative of sine of kx, I'm going to get k times cosine of kx using the chain rule. So what we need to do here is divide again by k like we did in the previous example. So I'm going to conjecture that the antiderivative of cosine kx is sine kx over k plus c. So we're going to do our check once again. Our check will be, we're going to take the derivative with respect to x of sine of kx over k and show that this is going to give us, plus c, and this should give us cosine of kx. So let's see. When we take the derivative of the first term, we have a constant 1 over k. The derivative of sine of kx, well, using the chain rule, the derivative of the outside is cosine of kx. and then we'll differentiate by the derivative of the inside, we will get just k. And the derivative of c is 0, and so here you can see the k's cancel, and we get what we wanted, which is cosine of k times x. So we can see that when we're taking antiderivatives and we have a constant inside the function multiplying the independent variable, we're going to have to divide by that constant to undo the chain rule. Okay, so now we can continue to generalize. So I'm going to just scroll up a little bit and recall that in this chart we are on the left, we have a rate of change function. On the right, we're looking for the family of antiderivatives. So let me just extend this chart a bit and continue so we can develop some rules. All right, so we can continue our thinking if we have then sine of kx. Well, a function whose derivative is sine, it will be cosine, except we know the derivative of cosine is negative sine, so this is going to have to carry the negative, and since we have a k here, we're going to have to divide by that k because we're undoing the chain rule, and because we want the entire family, we're going to add c. And we can do this for all of our trigonometric functions, right? So I won't do this for all of them. I'll just do a few of them. So if I have secant squared of kx, the question you're asking yourself is, what function has a derivative that's secant squared? And that will be tangent of kx. And because the k is multiplying our independent variable, we're going to have to divide by k and add c. And you can do this for those less typical trig functions like cotangent, cosecant, and all of those. I'm not going to do that because that's just using the rules of derivatives, but I will do a couple of those inverse trig functions. So should we have a 1 over 1 plus kx squared, you might remember that the derivative of 1 over 1 plus u squared is the arctangent, or tangent inverse. So here we're going to write this as tangent inverse of kx, and we have to divide by that constant k, or that scalar k, and add c. And you can always check by taking the derivative of this function to get the function on the column on the left. Let's do a couple more of these, and then we'll start thinking about undoing the power rule. So now if we have 1 over the square root of 1 minus kx squared, well, this is going to be arcsine, or sine inverse, of kx divided by k plus c. And we could continue with the inverse tangent function, inverse trig functions, but I'm just doing a couple as an example. And now let's think about how we might undo the power rule. So now we're really going to extend this, and we're going to think back at how we started this section, right? I started this section by saying, remember, if I want a function whose derivative is 2x, we said, oh, well, that's going to be x squared plus an arbitrary constant, because using the power rule for differentiation, the derivative of x squared is 2x. Well, what if now we just have x? Well, we see that from here to here, we're dividing by 2. And so it might make sense to take this x squared plus c here and divide the x squared by 2. Just like we did on the left. So let's check that this works. We're not sure. So what we're going to check here is that the derivative with respect to x of x squared over 2 plus c will give us x. And so here we have our constant to have. The derivative of x squared is 2x, and the derivative of c is 0. Here the 2's cancel, and yes, we just get x. So that worked out. What if we started with 3x squared? Well, we can think, okay, a function whose derivative is 3x squared is x cubed. And if I want the entire family of functions, that will be x cubed plus c. Well, what if on the left, I just have a rate of change function that's x squared? Well, to get from here to here, we can divide by 3. So it might make sense that here, I also divide by 3. And we would get x cubed over 3 plus c. And what's left to check here, is it the case that when we take the derivative of x cubed over 3 plus c, we get just x squared? And the answer is yes. So right now we've got, okay, when we take the integral, the indefinite integral of x, we get x squared over 2, or the family of antiderivatives. Indefinite integral of x squared, we get x cubed over 3. We can do a few more, and then we will generalize to obtain the power rule. So let me continue extending our chart here. On the left, let's suppose now that we have 5x to the fourth. So we would like a function whose derivative is 5x to the fourth. Well, that will be x to the fifth plus c. Okay, what if I just want a function whose derivative is x to the fourth? We can divide x to the fifth plus c by 5. And now we have another relationship that we can think about to start generalizing. So we're going to generalize now. If we have x to the power of n, notice what we did each time. Here, when we had x to the fourth, we added 1 to the exponent and divided by that 5. When we had x squared, we added 1 to the exponent divided by that 3. When we had x cubed, to obtain an antiderivative, we added 1 to the exponent and divided by 2. So now when we have x to the n, we're going to add 1 to the exponent to get x to the n plus 1 and divide by that new exponent. And then add c. But this is only the case as long as n is not equal to -1, because if it were equal to the -1, we would get a 0 in the denominator, and that doesn't work. So let's box this as our power rule for anti-differentiation. And I'm going to state this at the bottom. So we have that if we're looking for the family of functions whose derivative is x to the n, that family will look like this. It will be x to the n plus 1 divided by n plus 1 plus c, as long as n does not equal to -1. This is called the power rule for antiderivatives, and this works also when n is a rational number, a fraction. Now, let's think about, well, what if n is -1? Well, if n is -1, then that's the integral of x to the -1 dx. Or the integral, well, x to the -1 is the same thing as 1 over x. And a function whose derivative is 1 over x is that natural log of absolute value of x. So here we have another rule that if n does equal -1, antiderivative of 1 over x is the natural log of absolute value of x. So in the following videos, we'll do some examples using these rules, and specifically the power rule, and we'll also talk about the sum and difference rules, a few more rules so that we can take antiderivatives of more complex functions.